So you saw an ad about converting your current financing options into a cash offer? Too good to be true? Well, let's talk about it.
You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. Is that something that you would be willing to have a discussion about?
Because they didn't get it.
They
were
probably
like,
didn't get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads.
Welcome back to Millennial Market Talk. I'm Mark Jones, your Millennial Mortgage expert, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the ads and gimmicks that you're seeing out there that make you think you can turn your actual financed offer into a cash offer. Before we get into that, let's jump into our interest rates of the day. So these rates are going to be quoted from March 11th. And as mentioned before, we are looking at a $300,000 price range. We will go with 5% down, purchasing in Texas at the average credit score of 680. Now, with the new tool here, it allows me to put up different programs. And these guys are an average of what you see throughout the United States with mortgage lenders across the country. But specifically, we're going over Texas interest rates. As you can see here, from a 30-year fixed mortgage, we're sitting at 4.716 for an FHA 30-year fixed at a 4.972, which is a little bit higher than what we were seeing a couple of weeks ago. This was actually much lower than your conventional. And for our 30-year fixed VA, we're at a 4.867 and USDA at a 4.508. As I mentioned quite often, guys, the USDA route is definitely an option that most people do not consider, an option that is overlooked quite frequently, especially those of you that are out there looking for down payment assistance programs that could have a much higher interest rate for borrowing those funds. More times than not, those down payment assistance programs that you're seeking come with some type of caveat that says you have to stay in the home for X amount of years or you have to pay back the funds that you are borrowing. Most are in the form of a second lien that you don't have to make a payment on until that time said in the contract expires. So without further ado, let's talk about what you guys are seeing out there in our market in regards to the marketing and ads that have been brought to my attention. We're looking at some things where folks are believing that they can just turn their finance option into a cash offer. And unfortunately, there are many situations that it does not make sense to do that. But as we move forward with the actual premise of what these other mortgage companies are offering, I have the following.
So you want to buy a home, but there's not a large selection to choose from. And these days, there are more people looking to buy a house than ever before. In this market, cash buyers have the advantage, and sellers often choose cash buyers over buyers needing financing. Cash buyers now make up 25% of all home purchases in 2021. This can be very frustrating, and we have a program that can help. Buyer Accepted is a new exclusive program offered by New American Funding that allows you to compete with cash buyers. Here's how it works. Through this cash buyer program, Buyer Accepted will purchase your new home with cash and sell it back to you for the original purchase price, plus a convenience fee which varies by state between 1.5 and 2.4% for using their cash. This can be added to the purchase price of the home. We buy the home for you first, then sell it back to you through a loan from New American Funding. Some say that sellers often lower the price of their house when selling to cash buyers. Every situation is different, but the Buyer Accepted program could potentially lower your overall home purchase cost. If you need to sell your current home to complete the purchase from Buyer Accepted, you can move into the new home and rent it from Buyer Accepted until you're ready to buy it back after your current home is sold. As an added benefit, you won't need to pay the rent due until you've sold your current home. Don't miss this opportunity to purchase your dream home. Find out more about the benefits of using Buyer Accepted.
So as you can see from that quick video commercial that this company has, it's very enticing, very misleading, and essentially looking like a savior for those of you that are very frustrated in getting your offers beat, things of that nature. But there's a couple of things that they mention within here that I just totally disagree with. coming from a person that actually does flip properties, things of that nature, and is constantly putting properties on the market, my wife and I, we go with the highest and best offer every single time. I will tell you that there are quite a few cash offers that come in, but if they're not willing to come up on price, if they're not willing to waive appraisals, things of that nature, there's really no point to it. In addition to some caveats that you may not have noticed within this type ad is the restrictions and terms of condition. They mention here that there's a front end fee for holding on to the property, but then they go on further to basically say that you can rent the home from them and nothing is due until you sell your home. But if you're not in a position to where you have a home to sell, then you're just essentially paying rent. And for that actual company, they're taking the risk, yes, on purchasing a property, which in my opinion is not that big of a risk, especially here in Texas with our values consistently rising. But they're also have the ability to charge you rent on that property, rent that is probably higher than what your actual mortgage payment would be. Then in addition to that, you've got to look at once you are in the position to finance that property back from them, you're restricted to their interest rates, their programs, their all of those things. Unfortunately, as a consumer, you should be able to shop, and you're putting yourself in a position that you're kind of backed into a corner. I'm not saying that it is necessarily a bad thing, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a bummer to lose all of your options because you could not wait a little bit longer. That is, if you even capture the property, given their theory. The last thing that I wanted to talk about on this is what are the actual parameters in order to qualify for these type programs. And as I read further, it looks as though you must have a credit score of 700 to be able to put 10% down, and you have to have a 680 or better in order to even qualify for this. And at the 680 mark, you're putting down 20%. It then goes on to state that if you're making an offer that is higher than the actual list price of the property, that you are the one that is having to bring that cash to the table. That's something that, again, is in their protection, but it does not protect you. The earnest money factor, being that it goes into an escrow account in non-interest bearing, is great, but at the same time, what are the actual terms and conditions of this? Everywhere that I looked on the internet, and there's several different companies that offer this type of program, but it is a very honed in specific borrower that will even qualify for this. So what, in my opinion, is happening here is you guys are seeing these types of ads, clicking on them, entering in all of your information, and getting stuck down the road with sending the documents, things of that nature. And at that point, they tell you that you don't qualify for that program, but we do have this, and that program. So again, I think it's important that you guys do pay attention to the fine print. I'm always an advocate for reading the little small prints and caveats and terms and conditions and rate assumptions and things of that nature, because I want to know everything that I'm getting myself into. And you as a consumer, as a home buyer, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you don't want to put yourself in a position that could cause more financial hardship in the future. So guys, I hope you got something out of this. If you do, please like and subscribe, share with a friend. Also, we've got our live experience of the Key Factors podcast, which is a podcast where I interview and have incredible discussions with other mortgage professionals in our industry. Only the pros here, guys, and it all goes. Jump on over to our separate playlist entitled Key Factors Podcast Live Experience and check those out. You can also find the audio versions of these episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Facebook, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So guys, that being said, I'm Mark Jones, your Millennial Mortgage expert, and you guys make today count.
You were talking about money market.
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. That's something that you would be willing to have a discussion about.
Because they didn't get it.
They
were
probably
like,
didn't
right.
get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients to generate more.